what just happened right before I started recording is the debate, the Brian Kemp versus Stacey Abrams versus a Mr. Hazel debate in Georgia for the governor of Georgia. It was a pretty interesting debate. I will say that the Mr. Hazel, the Libertarian candidate, he was in the way. He was not needed at all. He has no traction in Georgia. He will probably not even get the 2% of the independent votes that normally go to that side candidate. Like, Georgia is heavily split directly between Kemp and Abrams. I don't see too many votes going to anybody else for that governor's race. Now, a quick recap, what I think of that debate, I will say I think Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp stood their ground in that debate. I don't think any one of them overwhelmed each other in any facet of the conversation. I don't think either one of them swayed any voters from the other side to switch to their side, which, if you know anything about Georgia and how these politics go, people really just vote with their party. They don't really switch too much. They're not really looking to make changes or flop sides or whatever. Even though Mr. Hazel, the Libertarian, was a Republican the last election, now he's going independent or Libertarian. So that's whatever. But for the most part, people don't flip-flop in Georgia a lot from Republican to Democrat. I know there's been a lot of talk in the FBA, Freedmen, ADOS community about not voting for any candidate that doesn't have a reparations platform. But they're not being flipped Republican. They're talking about not voting at all if they don't get what they want, right? Or if we don't get what we want, right? So that's not the same thing. And most of those people arguing are not even in Georgia, so don't count that, right? So I'll say I think Stacey Abrams did a good job letting it be known, because a lot of people forget that she has extensive history working with Republicans and super conservative people when it comes to getting policy passed. One of the questions to Stacey Abrams was about, if you win the governor, it's very likely that the state Congress will be pretty much controlled by Republicans. So how do you plan to get anything passed? And she let it be known that I have a track record of passing laws and getting policy passed with Republicans in power. That's her specialty. And if you think back to 2018, that was a lot of people's critique of her, was that she worked with Republicans too much. That was a lot of Democrats' critique of her, is that she was they made it seem like she was like friendly with the Republicans, or that she would kind of betray the Democratic Party if she was to win, or if she was to become the Democratic candidate, because she worked so closely with Republicans and what they call across the aisle to get so many things done. And she was known as the type of person in politics, when she was in state politics at the representative level, she was known as the person that would kind of compromise on the entire plan just to get something passed, right? Some people look at that as you folded to the Republicans, but I look at it, and she does too. She looks at it as, at least we got some of what we wanted, right? So I can respect somebody who they might compromise a little bit. Now, I'm not down with, like, let's not compromise when it's talking about reparations, right? We don't want to compromise on that. Let's get our reparations, okay? And it needs to be specific to the people it should go to. But when you're talking about things like the Hope Scholarship in Georgia, when you're talking about things like how many people will be eligible for Medicaid, and when you're talking about things like, you know, voter registration policies and things like that, she has had to bend in the past a little bit just so she can get something passed. Because if you just stand hard on your stance and you don't want to compromise, you won't get anything done. So I respect her for that, and she's right. She has extensive history of working with across the aisle to get things done. So she made that known. She also let it be known that she does have sheriff support in Georgia. She didn't name the sheriffs, and she didn't say how many sheriffs she has supporting her, but she did say that she does have some sheriff support when Brian Kemp tried to challenge her on that. I think Kemp stood his ground as well. I mean, they tried to bring up, I think one of the first questions they asked him was, does he plan to enforce stricter laws when it comes to abortion? And he pretty much said, no, I don't plan to do that. I plan on helping Georgians get through this tough economy with this inflation. He kept on bringing up the inflation issue. He kept on blaming Biden for the inflation issue and blaming Democrats as a whole, saying that his pretty much number one priority is help Georgians through this crazy inflation we're dealing with right now. So he didn't let the abortion thing get him tripped up, and he didn't say anything crazy when it comes to abortion. A question was asked to Kemp about some task force that he put together during the civil unrest back in 2020, where he sent he sent some type of task force down to various cities in Georgia to help with, I guess, civil unrest, protests and things like that, where local police were standing by not doing anything. And he pretty much said, I was helping them before, but I don't plan to continue doing that. That's not my job. He said that's not the job of the state office. The only reason that he had to do it before was because cities were allowing protesters to just destroy things, and the local police weren't doing anything about it. So I think they all gave, I think both Kemp and Abrams gave good answers to the questions. I don't think that they were really asked anything too tough. They threw a few shots at each other, but nothing disrespectful. Like this wasn't like Trump and Biden. This wasn't like Herschel Walker and Warnock debate. This was a respectful people who don't want to look crazy in the media. This is that type of debate. So while this is a major election in Georgia, and while this is an election being watched by people who care about politics all across the country, it wasn't one of those like entertaining, hey, we found some jokes to laugh at type of debates. It was a serious political debate, something that reminds you of 10 years ago type of debate. So I think it was cool. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it.